Chioma gazed at her reflection in the mirror and smiled. "Beautiful," she whispered. "Mommy Wada," she added softly, tilting her head like a queen of the deep. She adjusted her shiny bangles, their clinks echoing like tiny bells, and slung her bag over her shoulder. Though she wore her school uniform, she had no plans of entering a classroom that day. Her destination was not the schoolhouse, but the river. Today, she would spend the day at the water's edge, summoning the mermaid spirit she believed lived within her, or at least the one she hoped did. The river was quiet, too quiet. Even the trees stood still, as if holding their breath. Chioma stepped out of her uniform and slipped into a flowing white gown. From her bag, she brought out a bottle of red wine, a collection of sweet-smelling perfumes, and a shimmering gold cloth. She laid them all before her like offerings on a sacred altar. For a moment, she simply stared at the items, letting the silence stretch long and wide. Her mother's voice crept into her mind, like smoke curling through a closed window. Never play with spirits, especially the ones you cannot see. Some spirits are not to be summoned for fun. They do not forget. They do not forgive. Her mother had warned her after overhearing her one day, standing in front of the mirror, calling herself Mommy Wada. But Chioma pushed the memory aside. Today was for magic. Chioma stepped gently into the river, the cool water curling around her ankles. She began to hum, a soft, melodious tune that danced on the breeze like a lullaby for spirits. Her body swayed rhythmically, side to side, mimicking the graceful movements of the mermaids she had read about, dreamed about, longed to become. For a while, she lost herself in the rhythm, in the sound of her own voice echoing off the water. Then she paused. She looked around, waited, but nothing stirred. The river remained still, as if holding back a secret. Clearing her throat, she lifted her chin and spoke, her voice firm and clear. "River of dreams, where the mermaids roam. Come close to me, make me your home. Your scales of jewels, your heart of the sea, I call to you, hear my plea." Silence, not even a ripple in reply. Disappointed but not defeated, Chioma slowly stepped out of the water. She gathered her offerings, the wine, the perfumes, the golden cloth, and carried them to a large rock at the river's edge. "I'll leave them here," she said quietly, "and check later if they've been accepted." With one last glance at the still water, she slipped back into her school uniform, hiding the white gown deep in her bag. Then, filled with a strange mix of hope and wonder, she turned and made her way home. Back home, with the house quiet and her mother busy in the kitchen, Chioma decided to rest. She curled up on her mat, her heart pounding with anticipation. Nightfall couldn't come quickly enough. She knew the river would be different under the moonlight, more magical, more alive. As dusk deepened into night, she grabbed an empty bucket and approached her mother. "I'm going to fetch water," she said casually. Her mother turned, frowning. "Why now? It's already late." "I just want to help," Chioma replied with a gentle smile. "So you won't have to fetch water tomorrow when I'm at school." Her mother's expression softened. She reached out and touched Chioma's cheek. "Oh, my daughter, you're so thoughtful. Go, but be quick, and don't do anything silly at that river." Chioma nodded, her heart racing. "I won't." As soon as she reached the riverbank, she ran straight to the rock where she had left her offerings. Gone. All of it vanished. Her eyes widened in disbelief, then sparkled with joy. She gasped and jumped excitedly, hands clapping, heart soaring. "They accepted it," she whispered. Suddenly, the wind rose like a warning. The trees trembled, their branches swaying low, as though bowing to something unseen. The air thickened with a strange energy. Then it came, the distant, echoing hum of a song. Her song, the same melody she had sung that morning, now drifting back to her, eerie and ethereal, sung by voices not of this world. Before she could move, a powerful, invisible force gripped her. She screamed, but the sound was swallowed by the wind, with a rush and splash. She was pulled into the river, down, into its mysterious, moonlit depths. Minutes later, Chioma's eyes fluttered open. She lay on a smooth, glistening surface that shimmered like wet glass, yet her clothes were perfectly dry. Her heart pounded as memories came rushing back. The wind, the voices, the pull of the water. "Is this it?" she whispered. "Is it finally happening?" She sat up and looked around. The place was unlike anywhere she had ever seen. Mist curled to the air like living smoke, and the light felt neither like day nor night. Everything was still. Then she heard it. "Choma," a soft voice called, smooth, melodic, and eerily inviting. She turned her head slowly, and there she was. A woman stood before her, impossibly beautiful, with skin like polished bronze and long, flowing hair that shimmered like moonlight on water. Her eyes glowed a deep ocean blue, and behind her trailed a glistening tail. Scales of emerald, sapphire, and gold. A mermaid. Chioma's breath caught in her throat. "You shouldn't have done what you did," the mermaid said, her voice now tinged with sorrow and warning. "You've awoken something long buried. A spirit your ancestors sealed away. A spirit of death and vengeance." Chioma stood frozen, unable to speak. This wasn't what she had imagined. This wasn't enchantment. It was dread. "You should have listened to your mother," the mermaid continued. "But now it is too late. You shall suffer the consequences of your actions, and so will everyone in your village." Chioma let out a scream and turned to run, but her feet refused to move. It was as if the ground itself had turned to stone beneath her. She tugged. She thrashed, but nothing worked. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "What have I done?" she sobbed. "What spirit did I awaken? Why me?" She cried and begged, her voice breaking with fear. But the mermaid did not move. She simply watched with sad, knowing eyes, then slowly turned and disappeared into the mist, leaving Chioma alone in the silence of a curse she could no longer undo. Meanwhile, back in the village, Chioma's mother stood in her small kitchen hut, stirring an empty pot, her heart heavy with unease. Something wasn't right. A mother knows. She could feel it, deep in her bones, like the earth itself was whispering a warning. She dropped the wooden spoon and rushed outside, her wrapper flapping in the night breeze. Without hesitation, she ran toward the river. As she reached the familiar banks, her worst fears were confirmed. Chioma's bucket lay abandoned on the ground. Her sandals, neatly placed earlier, now sat alone at the river's edge. The air was thick, too thick. An eerie silence draped the place, heavy and ancient. It wasn't just stillness. It was presence, as if the river was watching. A curse, a long-forgotten curse. Tears welled in her eyes. She bent down, picked up the sandals, and held them to her chest. "What have you done, my daughter?" she whispered through trembling lips. Then, with a cry that pierced the quiet night, she turned and ran back to the village, screaming for help. "Choma, they've taken my Chioma. The mermaids, Mommy Wada, they took her." The villagers poured out of their homes, faces lit with firelight and confusion. Some carried lanterns, others clutched charms. All wore the same expression, fear. "But how?" one man asked. "We buried the spirits long ago. The river was sealed." "She awakened them," Chioma's mother said, her voice breaking. Chioma never listened. She played with things she did not understand. The villagers exchanged tense glances, some murmuring prayers under their breath. "The spirits were angry once," muttered an old woman, "and now they are awake again." "We must act," said the village elder, stepping forward with staff carved from Irako wood. "We must present an offering before it's too late." There were no arguments, only grim nods. Within the hour, they had gathered what they could. A young cow, white, strong, unblemished, was led to the river by a procession of villagers. The drums were silent. The wind no longer whispered. All watched as the cow was brought to the water's edge, their hope clinging to the old ways, the only ways they knew to make peace with spirits once stirred. Deep beneath the water, in a realm where light twisted like smoke and time held its breath, a figure emerged. She was breathtaking and terrifying, a mermaid unlike the others. Her beauty was veiled in vengeance. Her long, flowing hair moved like black silk in water, but her eyes burned like fire, glowing orbs of fury and blood. Crimson tears streamed from them, vanishing into the deep. "They have awakened my spirit," she said, her voice echoing like thunder muffled in a storm. The fools have opened a door long sealed. They have given me another chance to avenge my death." She raised her arms as shadowy spirits circle behind her like vultures. They will cry. They will bury their children, one by one. Their land will rot with sorrow. Their joy will dry up like dust in the harmattan wind. Then, without another word, she summoned a shimmering spear, its tip forged from coral and bone, its shaft wrapped in golden seaweed. With eyes locked on Chioma, who stood paralyzed in fear, the mermaid hurled it. The spear shot through the water like lightning. Chioma gasped. It struck her square in the chest. The mermaid turned away, her tail slicing through the current. "Take her back," she said coldly. "Let them see. Let them understand. This is only the beginning." Meanwhile, at the riverbank, the villagers gathered in solemn silence. Drums throbbed with the rhythm of ancient grief, and the cow stood tethered near the water, calm as though it knew its fate. They chanted. They poured libations. They prayed to the river, to the spirits, to whatever forces might listen. But before the ritual could be completed, a chilling hush fell. From the water, they emerged, beautiful, shimmering mermaids, silent and solemn. And in their arms, they carried something. Chioma, her lifeless body was lowered gently to the riverbank, as if she were a sleeping child. A long spear pierced her chest, its tip glowing faintly. Still humming with magic, gasps broke out. Cries followed. Her mother collapsed, wailing. The mermaids vanished into the depths as quickly as they had come, leaving only ripples and grief behind. Chioma was laid to rest days later, her tomb wept over by the entire village. Some whispered prayers, others whispered curses. All felt the weight of what had begun. But no one, not even the elders, knew the full truth, that the death of one girl was only the first page in a chapter of sorrow, that the spirit now awakened would not rest, that their land would never be the same again. Thank you for watching.